very special thank you also to Jared Kushner, who is in the process of negotiating a little thing called peace in the Middle East. Great guy. Great guy.
Okay, you are listening live to President Trump. We're going to take a quick break here and bring in our panel, including one of our panelists who happens to be there on site. Charlie Kirk is with us.
Listen to this shit.
He returns along with Ethan Behrman and DeRoy Murdoch. So, Charlie, you're there on the ground.
Ethan.
I heard the president say how many of you have voted, and there was some applause, but then he said how many of you are waiting, and it sounded like a bigger group. I mean, they're counting on the day of election. Now, here on the East Coast, officially Election Day, they need that turnout tomorrow. How confident do you think the Trump campaign is about getting it?
I think they're very confident for good reason. The president and his campaign did a very good job at stemming an early voting tide in a lot of these early states. Despite record turnout, it was not a convincing blowout for Democrats in a lot of these states. In fact, the president's campaign is in a better position in some of these battleground states than they were in 2016, but it's all going to come down to Election Day. I have talked to probably 500 people in the last couple hours here, and I'd say 80% are waiting for Election Day to vote. And so I think that you're going to see long lines tomorrow. And for people out there, wait out those lines. It is your constitutional right to vote. Your employer has to give you time off to be able to vote. Please do so. So many people have sacrificed to give you that right. I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised when they see the returns of a convincing day of election for the Trump campaign.
Ethan, will you be surprised? I mean, Democrats feel like they have run up the numbers significantly in a number of these critical states. The vice president continues to poll with large numbers on a national margin. Are you going to be surprised if Donald Trump ends up winning re-election?
Yeah, I mean, of course I'll be surprised because the majority of Americans have never approved of him as president. The majority of Americans have said that they want to change. The majority of Americans have said that they don't trust him when it comes to his lies about this pandemic that has killed over 230,000 Americans. And I'm super happy that Charlie just admitted on national TV that the Republicans really do attempt voter suppression by saying stemming the early vote. We saw that failed again today in Texas. The federal judge actually rejected Republicans to throw out votes, 127,000 votes. But yeah, you said stem the tide. You said stem it. So how do you stem early votes, Charlie?
Because we turned down early voting for record numbers. You know how we stem the tide? Because we did records in Miami-Dade County. Stop lying on national television.
Then we'll just go back to the president if we can't hear.
Okay, Charlie, stop lying. Thank you.
Charlie, I think what you were saying is trying to stem the tide, not in an illegal way, but meaning the amount of turnout Democrats had versus Republicans. I don't think you were intimating anything illegal.
No, I'm happy to quickly explain. Of course not. For example, in order for Democrats to win Florida, they need to be winning by 500,000 early votes. They are winning by about 108,000 votes in Florida. How did Republicans actually compete against that? By record turnout in Miami-Dade County and all across the state of Florida. Never would I insinuate anything as Ethan has said. It's ridiculous.
Okay, Ethan, let's pick it up there.
Well, I mean, look, the Republicans have sued in almost every state to stop people from voting. The only way to victory is to suppress the vote of Democratic voters, is to intimidate, like we saw on the highway in Texas the other day. That's not patriots, that's domestic terrorism. That's why the FBI is investigating it. If you have to intimidate, if you have to suppress, if you have to have sheriffs enforcing Jim Crow-style rules in North Carolina on peaceful protesters, that's your path toward Jim Crow.
DeRoy, let me bring you in here because there have been plenty of lawsuits, as we were talking about a short time ago, but filed by Democrats and Republicans. There's been so much litigation over this thing before it ever got to the ballot box. DeRoy, where do you think we stand tonight?
Yeah, I'm really disgusted to hear Jim Crow brought up in the middle of this tremendous showing of democracy, with people showing up at this rally and us on this that we're talking about.
Let DeRoy answer.
Well, let me continue. What we've seen in recent weeks is an underperformance among Democrats with blacks and Hispanics. Many people believe that Trumponomics will do more for them than what Biden is offering, and we'll see tomorrow when people go to the polls. And I think that we will see a tremendous amount of people showing up for the president, and we'll count the ballots at the end. None of this has anything to do with anything with Jim Crow. And I'm disgusted to hear that those two ugly words dragged into this discussion on election eve. Shameful.
Well, there are a lot of ballots.
I'll do it again if you want, Jim Crow.
No. I think we've had enough. I think that it's going to take
Just
days
stop.
potentially. Yeah, I think it's going to take days potentially to iron this out. But depending, because every state counts this differently, and they count and when they start and everything else. Okay, let's listen to the president.